Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000. Or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I gotta say, Grayson, I am pleased, surprised, and impressed with the overall vibe on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line today on this fine Monday afternoon.
Yeah, what y'all been up to the last 2 hours?
405-651-3439. If you have not yet chimed in via the text line, many of you have been throughout me and Steely's show. But that's the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line if you want to tap in, ask your questions, pass along comments, observations, opinions, all of the above over the next hour here on Locked In. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton here in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. The show brought to you by Dorsey Jones Buick GMC out in El Reno. Fantastic service advisors, low-pressure sales environment, half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Check out all they offer and their fantastic lineup of Buicks and GMCs by making the short trip out to El Reno. And Grayson, we had one of those landmark events that, you know, you pencil it into the calendar every single year. You don't know exactly when it's going to hit, but you come to expect a freak out when you get back in the studio in front of the microphone and sit down in front of the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. The event in question is the first instance of a major high-priority Oklahoma target that had ostensibly been leaning toward Oklahoma committing to another institution. That happened yesterday with four-star wide receiver Aljour Miles out of Kaufman, Texas. Emmett Jones, 1 year ago today, as a matter of fact, gave Aljour Miles his very first scholarship offer. For the longest time, going back to probably late July of last year, it had been apparent that Oklahoma was in the catbird seat for Aljour Miles, and there was a very clear hierarchy in the recruitment. It was Oklahoma at number one, it was SMU at number two, it was everybody else playing from behind. SMU was the one school that looked like they could maybe, possibly, potentially challenge Oklahoma when official visit season rolled around. But SMU took their shot with Aljour Miles early. First weekend of May. Historically speaking, schools have not even hosted official visitors earlier than late May. Last couple weekends of the month. And obviously most OVs have historically happened in the month of June. But SMU decides, no, you know what, we're going to do a big OV weekend on the Hilltop, very first weekend of May. We're going to have Aljour Miles in town on that date, and we'll see what happens. What happened was, out of nowhere, Aljour Miles committed to the Ponies and shut down his recruitment. So look, it's one of those things that happens every year. If you're a seasoned follower of recruiting, I don't think you're all too fazed by the news because you have a mental precedent for this kind of thing occurring in past cycles, and you know it never marks the end of the world or even a severe blow to Oklahoma's recruiting efforts. But no doubt, Aljour Miles, Grayson, is the type of guy that you would rather have in your class than SMUs, to be completely fair.
And to soften the blow a little bit, at least you don't have to go play against him in the coming years because SMU's in the ACC. But to me, this says a lot more about SMU than it does Oklahoma because now it's saying that SMU is getting the blue chippers in DFW. And that's a problem not just for Oklahoma. That's a problem for Texas. That's a problem for LSU. That's a problem for Arkansas. And the other schools that have been picking and being a major player, a real major player in the DFW area without a major player being in the DFW area, if that makes sense. So this says a lot more about the program, and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic by saying this. This is the fastest rising program in the country. This program is on the steepest ascent in the United States of America. They have got gobs of money. They are in DFW, which is a top 6-7 market in the United States. And it's a team that's coming off of a college football playoff appearance in its first year in a Power 4 conference.
Amen to that.
This is going to be, and I know you were highly, highly confident that Aljour Miles was going to come to Oklahoma and reject SMU, who is right in its backyard. You were a lot more confident about that than I was. But at the end of the day, this is the new reality that 5 or 6 schools, Alabama notwithstanding too, are going to have to be facing a real major player in the DFW area for every blue chipper, and there's a lot of them that come out of this area. Keep an eye on SMU to be in the championship conversation within the next decade.
I agree wholeheartedly, and a lot of those points are points that I've brought up before on these airwaves. The reality of the financial backing that SMU boasts, how much money is behind that program, not only as far as NIL, but as far as facility upgrades that have been coming down and will continue to come down over the next several years. I mean, it's a very high-value education, right? I think it's somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 a year.
Yes.
Undergrad tuition at SMU. So you're getting a very expensive education paid for on a football scholarship. And look, folks, this is just kind of how things go during official visit season. There is always the possibility, and you have seen it happen before, that a team that puts their official visits earlier on the slate gets a guy or two to pop out of nowhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter what site you subscribe to, what experts you follow, all across the industry. Going into the weekend, the calculus, the consensus was Aljour Miles is a strong lean to Oklahoma. On 3, 24/7, Rivals, ESPN, everybody was in alignment. Aljour Miles is a strong lean to Oklahoma. But again, the one school that had continually occupied that number 2 slot for a long, long time was SMU. And they did what you're supposed to do on official visit weekend, which is convince a guy to commit. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what everything has been building toward as long as you've been recruiting that particular player. You are making what you hope to be your final pitch to that player when you get him on campus for an official visit weekend. And I have no doubt, Grayson, that one of the things that played into SMU's pitch, one of the key points that they hit, they knew as well as anybody that they were going up against Oklahoma for Aljour Miles, that was the primary program that they had to overcome and that they had to sway Aljour Miles away from. I guarantee one of the things that they brought up in those conversations was, hey, look, man, we got a guy in Rhett Lashley that's under contract here for a long, long time. We just went to the college football playoff. We have these outstanding facilities. We're starting to recruit better than we have since the days of the Pony Express. The future is objectively incredibly bright here. And you can go to Oklahoma if you want. You can commit there. But just keep in mind that if that staff and that program doesn't win in 2025, there's going to be a complete changing of the guard coming.
I mean, that to me is not just a hell of a pitch from SMU, but for a lot of other schools too. And when we've talked about the slow number of commitments that Oklahoma's been getting this recruiting cycle, you don't think that has a little bit of something to do with it in the mind's eye? But here's also SMU. They just got a corner out of Duncanville too yesterday.
Braylon Edwards
that they beat out Auburn for. I mean, if they're all of a sudden beating out SEC schools for these guys that, by the way, want them bad, that's not something you can just gloss over if you're anybody.
Michael in Marlow asks, will Miles still be taking his OV to Norman? The answer is no, Grayson. Caught up with Aljour Miles yesterday. He said that I've completely shut down my recruitment. I'm done. I'm a pony. He's not taking any more official visits from here on out. So you can effectively remove him from the board at this point if you're Oklahoma. And I'm sure you keep in contact with him just on the off chance that anything changes. But SMU won that battle, and sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes if a high-priority recruit and potentially one that's been leaning toward your school for however long doesn't wind up choosing your school, winds up going with somebody else, sometimes it's not that you lost the battle. Sometimes another school just won it. And from everything I learned last night, just having conversations with folks close to the process about the Aljour Miles recruitment, that's exactly what SMU did. Man, they swept the kid off his feet. You've seen it happen before. Saw it with Bryant Wesco. Everybody remember Bryant Wesco in the class of 2024? Heavy Oklahoma lean for a while. And he's got his OV slate all set up. I think he was planning on going to LSU, TCU. He had a bunch of official visits all set up, but the thought was he's going to Oklahoma. He's committing to Oklahoma. OU's going to be home for him on the other side of the OV slate. His very first OV was a trip to Clemson. He did not take a second OV. It ended right there and then on that weekend.
Which is a very Clemson thing, too.
Correct. I mean, it's all about individual philosophy, right? Oklahoma, the way that they've structured it under Brent Venables, the way that they've structured it with the Champ U barbecue, they're counting on their top targets making it to campus for the Champ U barbecue at the end of June, and then they have the chance to make the last impression the strongest one. So Oklahoma goes for the last visit in most cases. SMU is completely unafraid to try and get the first visit. And that's what they've done.
Because they're saying go ahead.
No.
No, I'm saying because they're saying with our NIL coffers and our location and the fact that we don't have a state income tax, because that's probably going to come into play here soon, and we've got this gorgeous, gorgeous campus, which, by the way, that says nothing about Oklahoma. Oklahoma's just fantastic, too. They're banking on we can make this pitch and we can enamor you so much that you shut it down. And now that they have an ascending program and a pretty damn good coaching staff, too, that pitch just gets even more lethal.
I've said this before on air, and I don't know how much it matters coming from my lips, but from my perspective, one man's opinion here, I love SMU's campus.
I do too.
Go there every single summer for their mega camp, which usually spans 2 days. SMU has a fantastic campus. Absolutely fantastic. Gorgeous place up on the hilltop, nestled into the heart of Dallas. SMU, I would imagine, is a great place to go to school. So I get it. I get it a lot more. And another couple, if you go back to the class of 2025, another couple guys that came off the board before even getting the chance to OV to Oklahoma during the month of June were Cole Breiler, the defensive tackle from the state of New Jersey, and Christian Evans, who was a defensive tackle from the state of Virginia. Breiler picked Stanford. Christian Evans picked Virginia Tech. Those are surprising, right? You watch those commitments come down the chute, and you're like, really? Didn't even want to give Oklahoma a chance? And the Waffler on the text line said if the kid never even visited Oklahoma, he was only using them as a pawn to get more money from the ponies. I mean, okay, that's always a theory that people have when a kid commits elsewhere. But Aljour Miles, he didn't take an official visit to Oklahoma. He took 4 unofficials to OU within the span of the last 10 months. So he was by pretty much anyone's standards, a regular at Oklahoma. He had spent a lot of time at OU. So, no, I don't think he was using OU as a pawn for more money from the ponies. But I also think having deep pockets probably didn't hurt SMU there either.
And it probably will not going forward. This texter in the 918 is pretty pissed.
What did he say?
National championships for SMU? LOL. I said national championship picture, and they were the national championship picture last year.
That technically they were. Yes, continue.
They were in the CFP. He goes on to say, SMU is only a product of other conferences getting desperate. Shouldn't be a Power 5 school. Hopefully a Super League comes and leaves those types of programs behind.
Listen.
What?
There'll be some Power 4 programs that get left behind if there's a Super League. SMU won't be one of them.
Not be one of them.
No, man. You're stuck in the heart of the fourth largest metropolis in the country. You have as much money as they do. You have the football facilities that they do. Like, all of the infrastructure there screams Power 4. There's a legitimacy to it. They're not one of those schools that's hanging out in the Power 4 sort of residually. You know, like a school like Cal comes to mind there, where you even just you look at what they do across all sports, but most specifically football. If you ever watch a Cal football game on Saturdays, how many fans are in those stands?
Oh, nobody,
right?
nobody cares.
Yeah, who cares about Cal football? Not a ton of people at this point.
DFW has been waiting for a college football team to call their own my entire lifetime.
Santa John on the text line says, back in the early 70s, SMU's tuition was $195 an hour when OU's was $25. So that's quick math. Almost 8 times more expensive.
Give or take.
Dang. Glenn from Nashville. Oh, he's a Sooner and a Pony. He said, I did undergrad at OU, law school at SMU, but OU has my football loyalty. That said, the only thing that's getting me through these down Sooner years is the ascendancy of SMU.
And didn't we not call this a month or two ago when we talked about this very topic? We said the ascendancy of SMU might come at the expense one way or another of Oklahoma.
Wait, I think it was probably back in January or February. We did have this exact conversation that SMU might be a whole lot more of a thorn in Oklahoma's side recruiting DFW than they have been in years past. And boom, there you go. Anecdotal evidence, but evidence nonetheless.
But it's also going to show they're going to be a thorn in everybody's. It's not just Oklahoma. It's going to be Texas. It's going to be Texas A&M. It's going to be Arkansas. It's going to be Alabama. They're going to start pulling some of these guys.
Frisco Sooner adds, the guy down playing SMU is living in a fantasy land, and if he thinks they aren't going to be a thorn in OU side for years to come, he's about to find out. Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Oklahoma in pursuit of a portal quarterback. Can they land him? He's a third stringer, but anytime the Sooners are in search of an addition at the most important position on the football field, we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring you up to speed on all of the latest. So we will do that and hit more of your texts on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439 on the other side. Come back with us. You're listening to Locked In here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Beats and Bites Festival is back again at Riverwind Casino, where good grooves and great food are on tap all summer long. Kicking off on June 14th with Josh Turner.
Would you go with me?
And Edwin McCain. Along with crave-worthy eats from local food trucks, there's something for everyone. Get your tickets online or at the box office for just $10. Only at Riverwind Casino.
Why don't we just dance?
Have you or someone you know suffered a loss to your home or business from the recent storms? Before you accept a settlement, call Brown O'Haver at 405-735-5510. Brown O'Haver is a local-based company helping Oklahomans with claims since 1988 with preparation and expert analysis detailing your loss and insurance settlement. As your trusted consultant, Brown O'Haver can give you peace of mind and make sure you're getting what's yours. Call Brown O'Haver today, 405-735-5510, and make sure they're working for you.
At Confidence Ford of Norman, we believe in living up to our name. Our commitment to confidence is in everything we do. Whether you're searching for the perfect vehicle from our extensive selection of new Ford models or pre-owned cars, our dedicated team will help you every step of the way. Because with us, you're family. We're conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, a Cavender Auto family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
Are you looking for a luxury apartment for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning 2- and 3-bedroom spacious floor plans with large walk-in closets, washer and dryer hookup, and a fabulous kitchen in a well-maintained, calm environment. From plush carpet to sleek stainless steel appliances to a pool, 24-hour fitness, and 2 dog parks, the Falls at Brookhaven has it all. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com for a free tour and see what living in luxury is like.
My fiance is a veteran. I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Now that open enrollment for healthcare coverage has ended, there's still several options to consider that just might benefit you. Need to purchase your own health insurance? Confused about Medicare? Considering offering benefits to your employees? Call the agents at Allison Insurance, featuring 70-plus years of combined insurance business experience. They're able to help clients avoid mistakes when purchasing individual or group health insurance. Call Allison Insurance at 800-580-5587 or 745-2968. They are the experts.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Dangers rarely lie out in the open, so no matter where you live, it's important to know harmful pests can hide in and around your home.
Here I come!
Rodents and cockroaches are drawn to food waste and garbage.
I know you're out here.
Ticks lurk in tall grasses, and mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water.
I can hear you.
Rodents, ticks, and mosquitoes can all spread dangerous diseases.
I gotcha.
Seek the facts you need at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
I love texts like these. I say that sardonically, but David from Norman on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line of 405-651-3439 says, the reason people keep negative recruiting us about Brent's job security is because people like you guys keep saying he's going to get fired if he doesn't win 8 or 9 games next year, and that simply is not the truth. If we had Texas last year, we could easily go 10-2. But with our schedule, that is very unlikely. Even Stevie Wonder can see that this program is moving in the right direction. If Stevie can see that, certainly the Joes see it as well. Short of another 5-win season, Brent will be kept around to see the flip side of the SEC schedule. Not to be actually Guy David from Norman, but Stevie Wonder can't see anything. Let's just get that clear off the bat. Secondly, I would disagree with the assertion that even Stevie Wonder can see that this program is moving in the right direction. Guess what? I think Oklahoma is moving in the right direction. I do. But not everybody sees it that way. I guarantee you that's about to be reflected within the next few moments on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. And I also can't argue with those people's perspective. I can present mine. I can present the optimistic spin on where Oklahoma sits right now as a program and where they're headed. But the Sooners have gone 6-7 2 of the last 3 years. So there are some people that do not see this program as one that is headed in the right direction for their own reasons, and there's a rationale behind all of it. And to those people, someone in my position can simply say, I guess we're going to have to see what happens this fall.
You glossed over the worst part of that.
Which is?
Guys like us telling people that if he doesn't win next season, he's going to be fired. What do you want to lie to you?
Listen,
just pee on my head and tell me it's raining. Is that what you want us to do?
This is the home of Sooner fans, the Ref Sports Radio Network. It is our job to talk about OU football 12 hours a day. And so, guess what? You go 6-7 2 out of 3 years, it's going to get talked about.
If they go 6-6 next year and lose a bowl game, I think the odds are he will not be back in 2026.
And I guarantee you, whether this radio station existed or not, whether YouTube existed or not, whether Twitter existed or not, other programs would negative recruit Oklahoma based on the results of last season and the uncertainty surrounding Brent Venables' job security heading into 2025 and beyond.
I'll bet you none of those other programs, well, they may know who you are because you're pretty well known around the country, but they don't listen to us. They're not making their decisions based on what we are saying. They don't mold their recruiting strategy based on what we're saying.
Reformed Homer says, SEC fans are way more optimistic about OU's football season next year than OU fans. I will say that's a good sign. Right? Like when was the last time the rest of the country seemed higher on Oklahoma than the Sooners' own fan base? That, I think, is the culmination of the great reset that felt like it kind of needed to happen at the end of the 2021 season, when Oklahoma had put together a very empty 11-2 campaign, and you knew the SEC transition was on the horizon. And I believe it was Teddy that said it at the time, and I didn't imagine – I don't think he imagined it was actually going to happen. But at the time, I think one of the things he said on these very airwaves was, it might not be the worst thing if this team went 6-6 for a year, just to reset everybody's expectations.
And by the way,
lo and behold,
that's a pretty intelligent way of saying that too. I think that honestly is a very good point.
When the rest of the country believes in your team more than your fan base does, I think that's probably a good sign. Because obviously those folks are looking at it with less emotion involved than you, the fan. And one of the mantras that I live by in this profession is, it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. Guarantee you that'll be true for Oklahoma in 2025 to a certain extent. But it feels like the push-pull, if you will, the tug-of-war between the OU fan base and the national media, the national pundits for the last 5 years, if not longer, has always been OU fans saying, we're really good, we're going to be really good, and the national media saying, you're probably not going to be as good as you think you're going to be. No, we're really good. Nah, I would check those expectations.
I mean, there's reason for that. I do think there is reason for that. And by the way, here, just to put a bow on that last text, here's how you can know the validity of what we've been saying. The entirety of the offseason has been had, the conversation of the offseason has been had under the backdrop of, you have to win 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we have talked about since the end of football, since we last played football, has been under the curtain of, you have to win 8 games, presumably to keep your job. That's where the validity comes from. It's not just me and Parker or anybody else at the station. That seems to be something that everybody knows.
Because again, when you go 6-7, 2 out of 3 years as head coach at the University of Oklahoma, your job security is going to be called into question because the standard at the University of Oklahoma demands it.
Exactly.
It demands it. Reformed Sooner says, Teddy also predicted Venables would win a national championship within his first 3 years. Yes, he did do that. We all have swung and missed at some point, folks. No, the University of Oklahoma did not win a national championship in Brent Venables' first 3 years. So, I know that gets cited a lot. I can't recall when it was that Teddy threw that take out. I think it might have been spring of 2022. Be that as it may. Didn't happen. Life goes on. We'll see if Oklahoma can play their way back into championship contention under Venables' leadership. And when you look ahead to what they're going to field in 2025 on both sides of the ball, the pieces are there. The pieces are there. You have an outstanding quarterback. You have an outstanding running back. You have a deep and talented group of receivers. You have the makings of a solid offensive line. Tight end is a question mark, but that's okay. I mean, you'd rather have tight end to be a question mark than, well, pretty much any other position on the football field. So, I mean, that's a question mark that, comparatively speaking, you feel like you can afford. You'd prefer to have 0 question marks, but if you have to have one, probably going to lean towards tight end being the position group, at which you're okay with having a bit of uncertainty heading into the season. Defensive line looks great. Linebacker room looks solid. Secondary looks really good. Recruiting, hang on. Wait. Recruiting Moore says, Parker, I read an article saying that BV turned down $7.5 million from Tech and Bama because he wanted to be at OU so bad. Is there any truth to this? And if so, he just bought himself 3 more years in my heart. Did you see one of those clickbait articles on Facebook that installs a virus into your computer? Is that what's getting talked about? Because I don't think at any point Brent Venables has been up for a job at Texas Tech or Alabama. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. But, man, some of the AI stuff has gotten out of control on the Facebook side. I see screenshots that get brought over to Twitter from time to time. Brent Venables just gave hundreds of thousands of dollars to homeless shelters. Click the link to read more. Boom, it's a virus.
But that's been on Facebook pre-AI, though.
It hasn't been as prolific.
I'll take your word for it, because I haven't logged into Facebook in years.
It's probably for the best.
Yeah.
It's where the olds reside. Surprised Steely isn't on Facebook. I'd expect Steely to be a big Facebook guy. David from Norman says, so are you guys both saying that if you only win 7 games next year that Venables is fired? I'll take any amount of action you want to put on that statement. 7 games is like the twilight zone, right?
Yeah, that's the big gray area.
Oh, that's where you really don't know, because that's where nobody is satisfied going into 2026. Everybody is probably pissed off all offseason. Because if Oklahoma goes 5-7 next year, it's really not a question. You have to pull the plug at that point. But if you win 6 games or 7 games, like 8 games, you feel like everything's okay. Things have stabilized.
Yes.
Moving ahead into 2026, you've put yourself in a position where you can reasonably expect to be in the upper echelon of the SEC. But 6-7 wins, that's the twilight zone where you're like, there's a very compelling argument at that point to relieve Venables of duty, but there's also going to be a very compelling argument to see the experiment through for another year. And regardless, nobody's going to be thrilled with the outcome.
But would the urge to see the experiment through, would that be because of the partnership with Jim Naggie?
Perhaps.
I feel like he would have more to do with keeping Venables around after a 7-6 year than Venables himself. If you win 6 games, I would bet a lot that he's gone. If you go 6-6 and lose a bowl, if you go 6-6 and then win some like bowl game that's played on December 24th or what have you.
Mm-hmm. The Camellia Bowl.
Sure, something like the Gasparilla Bowl.
The Beef of Brady's Bowl.
Let's just go through lower tier bowls at this point. But no, I do think if you want to see the experiment through after a 7-win season where you win a low tier bowl after going 6-6, I think that has more to do with Jim Naggie saying, hey, I want to work with this guy one more year than it does actually about Brent Venables.
Yeah, and look, none of this whole conversation is me saying or Grayson saying that we think this thing is going to crash and burn for Oklahoma in 2025. I think Oklahoma wins at least 8 games. I do. But if we're going back to the origin of the conversation, which is the negative recruiting efforts put forth by other programs in recruiting battles against Oklahoma, there's obviously some validity to what they're putting in front of prospects, i.e., if you commit to this program and things don't go according to plan again in 2025, you're going to be sitting around in November, December having to think about your future in conjunction with a coaching staff turnover in Norman. Do you really want to take that chance? That's a weighty thing for a 17-year-old to have to reckon with. And so you got to have a lot of faith, especially when it's your future that you're talking about, your football career. You got to have a lot of faith that Oklahoma's going to get back to their winning ways in 2025.
Which is why I've held off on pushing the panic button with this recruiting stuff and the commitments being slower to come in, because some guys may want to see what this looks like in action. And maybe just not just what it looks like in action. Michigan's coming to town. So maybe some people want to see what do you look like against a high-profile program to see what direction. Because the Illinois State game isn't going to tell you squat. And if it does tell you something, it's probably not going to be good. But if they look really good against Michigan, and they see that this is actually going back up on the ascent to where Oklahoma football historically has been and should be, now you're starting to inspire a little bit more confidence in some of the guys you're trying to commit to get committed to you.
By the way, relevant news item pertinent to the 2025 schedule. I'm sure many of you saw it, but Chiron Moore is self-imposing a 2-game suspension as head coach of Michigan, but he's doing it for weeks 3 and 4 of the 2025 season. So he's going to coach. Again, I don't know who Michigan plays in the season opener, but he's going to coach against Oklahoma and then serve his suspension, which I guess makes sense. Chiron Moore's not going to miss the Oklahoma game, especially being the Oklahoma alumnus that he is. It's a homecoming for him. But yeah, thought that was interesting.
The 2 games he is suspending himself for are home against Central Michigan and at Nebraska. So he's going to miss a conference game.
At Nebraska is not a gimme.
It's not a gimme.
No. Glenn from Nashville on the text line says, my concern is this. Parker, I think you've talked about on more than one occasion the swing and miss of the 2023 recruiting class. If you follow that up with the lackluster 2026 recruiting class, which, let's face it, we currently have, will we have the horses to compete in the SEC? Well, that right there, Glenn, I have talked about the 2023 recruiting class consisting of a lot more misses than hits, but that's the thing. You don't know that in the moment. You don't know that when all those guys sign, right? And so that is an evaluation in retrospect, because at the time when that signing class put pen to paper for the Sooners in December of 2022, it looked great on paper. It was a national top 10 class. But you go back and look at it now, it's chock full of guys that have since transferred, guys that have not panned out, guys that have gotten processed, and guys that have become little more than ho-hum depth chart fodder at Oklahoma. And there have been a select few that have worked out or look like they're poised to work out. But you never know what your recruiting class is actually going to do for your institution until they get in the building, until they start practicing, start learning, start developing, and you get a sense of what type of college football players they're going to be. Because everybody that earns a scholarship to a place like Oklahoma was a stud in high school. Nobody's going to – I don't think anybody would argue that all of those guys in the 2023 class, based on their tape and based on their production in the high school level, deserved a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma. It's one thing to get the scholarship. It's another thing to prove that you are worthy of that scholarship 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Because if you haven't proved it within that time, then you'll be on the Greyhound bus out of town.
And that happens with the ascent to every single level. I mean, the 2011 or 2012 draft class was resurfacing on Twitter this weekend, the one that Lane Johnson was drafted in. And the rest of that first round was cheeks in the NFL.
It's like 3 players that did anything in the league out of the 32 first-round selections.
The top 3 were 2 offensive tackles that weren't good and a linebacker, Deion Jordan, that couldn't stay off drugs.
So, to your point, Glenn, who's to say the 2026 recruiting class is lackluster right now or at any time in the immediate future? Because let's just say Oklahoma signs, I don't know, for the sake of the hypothetical, the number 23 class in the nation, and it feels modest. It feels like a ho-hum class. But the guys that you do get show up and drastically outperform the expectations that they carried into the collegiate level as prospects. Well, then, you look back on it now, you look back on it in 2029, say the way that we're looking back on the 2023 class now, and you feel great about that class, a lot better than you did in the moment. But you can't really draw parallels right now between the 2023 class and the 2026 class because you're projecting with one and you're evaluating in retrospect with the other. And those are 2 very, very different things. All right, we never did get around to the portal quarterback. We got distracted by the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Where do things stand between Oklahoma and Mercer transfer Whit Newbower? We'll get into that and more as we wrap up Locked In on the other side. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Bleed Crimson? Love great Sooner talk? Join the Ref Army by downloading our free app. Toby and TJ, Plank and Josh, Steelman and Thune, and Teddy and Tyler. We have the Sooner experts. The Ref is home to Sooner fans worldwide.
Hey, Mike Steely here from my good friends at Cavens Group. Spring temperatures are here and the threat of severe storms loom. Are you ready? Cavens can help you with water intrusion and inspections for mold. Also spring cleanup and yard cleanup with their 12-foot dumpsters. Don't wait for the water to expose your problems. Get ahead of it today with Cavens Group Spring Checkup. Call them today at 405-573-3048 or visit cavensgroup.com.
Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family. Schumacher Law Group, when experience matters. Tracy Schumacher is a former prosecutor and former district judge. Whether it's a probate challenge, criminal charges, or contentious divorce proceedings, experience matters. The attorneys at Schumacher Law Group provide compassionate, knowledgeable advice, all while fighting for your best interests. Find Schumacher Law Group online at lawgroupok.com or call 405-701-1882. Hometown lawyers ready to fight for you when experience matters.
Hi, I'm Ashton and I'm with the nonprofit Fostering Futures. Every day, children are removed from their homes due to abuse and neglect. In these critical moments, we step in to support these vulnerable kids. We work alongside child welfare workers to meet the essential needs of safety, stability, and healthy connections, as well as providing enrichment opportunities. But we can't do this important work without your support. Consider donating at fosteringfuturesok.org. Together, we can offer children a brighter future.
Balfour of Norman on Campus Corner has been and continues to be Sooner fans' favorite shopping destination for more than 45 years. When it comes to OU gear, Balfour has the best selection anywhere. Come see the new designs for spring from great brands like Nike, Jordan, Champion, Pressbox, and many others. It's graduation season, so stop by and get something for soon-to-be alums. Locally owned, stop by and say hello and check out all the Sooner gear and shop online at crimsonproud.com, where you will find everything Sooner.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you. Donate at v.org, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
For decades, Moore Norman Tech has been training skilled and dedicated individuals, giving clear career paths to hundreds of graduates a year. These passionate individuals are the heartbeat of the Oklahoma workforce, serving thousands of companies that fuel this state's economy. Individuals like you. Here's to the next generation of entrepreneurs, craftsmen, and go-getters who will shape the future of this state. Oklahoma is powered by Career Tech.
I thought mixing bleach with my floor cleaner would take the stain out.
When my youngest ate the dog's medicine, that was a new one.
I was trying to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is 405-651-3439. Before we dive into the Whit Newbower conversation here on Locked In. Good text from Frisco Sooner. You know what, guys? Is it really that big of a decision for a 17-year-old these days? I mean, hell, they can leave anytime they want. Honestly, man, one of the guy who probably did it better than anybody else in the modern NIL era in this regard. It's not going to be an answer that anyone likes to hear, but Quinn Uers played his cards pretty nicely. He went and got paid for a year at Ohio State, and then transferred back to where he wanted to go all along, the University of Texas. Big payday in year one when he knew he wasn't going to see the field anyway, then got to go to the place he really wanted to be and start for 3 seasons. Guy like that, man, you got it all, didn't you? Got the school that you wanted to be at, you got to play there, you got to start there, you got to build a legacy there. But in the meantime, in order to get ready, in order to prepare for the competitive demands of being the starting quarterback at a place like that, he just took the biggest bag and went to Ohio State, rode pine for a year. Could have done a whole heck of a lot worse.
Let me ask you this, to the point of the texter, though, which I think is a very interesting one, about basically the devaluing of signing day and what that ultimately means, because a lot of guys, not everybody, but a lot of guys aren't staying at the same school 3-4 years. Is there a recent precedent of the school that finished second in somebody's recruiting class eventually being able to reel him in the transfer portal a year or two down the line?
Oh, certainly. That happens. It happens quite frequently.
Okay.
And in fact, I think you've seen it happen. I'm trying to think. Has it happened at all to an OU guy? Either an OU guy that left or a guy that came to OU. Now, somebody like Josiah Martin comes to mind because he always wanted to be at OU.
Yeah.
But he didn't have that offer coming out of high school, so he had to go to Cal for a year. And then when he hopped in the transfer portal, he did have the opportunity to come to OU, and it was a done deal at that point. I'm trying to think, has there been anybody for whom Oklahoma very conspicuously, very obviously finished second, and then that mattered when he got in the transfer portal? I'll think of one.
But
I'll dig one up.
But
or the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line will.
But the reason I ask that is because if signing day means less and less and is less committal over a 4-year period, that may mean you can still go back and get some of these guys when they're more developed products.
Correct.
Which means it's not an ultimate doomsday scenario if you don't get a bunch of guys, because if you keep in contact with them, you might be able to get them later. To Frisco Sooners' point.
Joe Bob from Louisiana says, "Y'all are depressing. I need a drink. Where is the brew hoe?" Gator says, Uers also got that Sooner girlfriend. Yes, he does. Weston Sooner. There's a good one. Okay, there you go. Marvin Jones Jr.
There's a good one.
Marvin Jones Jr. Yep.
Hayes says Kendall Daniels, kind of. Didn't that one come down to Oklahoma State and Texas A&M?
It did, but that was because Oklahoma wanted Kendall Daniels. Hang on a sec. I think I think Alex Grinch wanted Kendall Daniels to play safety, and that was kind of the rub. He didn't just want to be a safety.
I mean, he kind of ended up being just a safety until Brian Nardo got to Oklahoma State.
Uh-huh. But now he comes to Oklahoma, and he gets to be a linebacker cheetah. So I guess he got what he wanted in the end, and he got to be what he wanted at Oklahoma. David from Norman says, actually, I think Quinn Ewers could have maximized his earnings by returning to college football.
That I agree with you, David.
Oh, there's no argument whatsoever there. Yes, that was a miscalculation on the part of Ewers' camp, his agent, whoever made that call. Yeah, he could have made a lot more money. But the one thing you can't put a price tag on is the value of being able to sell yourself for the rest of your life as a Longhorn, as opposed to, I mean, let's say he goes to Miami. Let's say he plays a 5th year of college football and goes to Miami. Oh, yeah, you're that former Texas starting quarterback that finished up at Miami. So what are you? Are you a Buckeye? Are you a Longhorn? Are you a Hurricane? Quinn Ewers, although he spent a year at Ohio State, he will be regarded by that fan base as a Longhorn for life, which can have significant ramifications down the line when it comes to speaking engagements and public appearances, that kind of thing. Maybe that's just a long-term play by Quinn Ewers. A 405 listener says, PT, think you have it the opposite. Daniels wanted to be a safety. Grinch recruited as a linebacker. Maybe. Didn't Alex Grinch love him some big DBs, though? I seem to recall that. Like, he was enamored with them. Even big DBs that weren't any good, if they were big, Alex Grinch just wanted. Like Justin Harrington, Joshua Eaton, Bryson Washington. Remember him? Oh, gosh, there are others. But whatever the case was, Kendall Daniels wanted to play one position. Oklahoma staff did not want him to play that position. Alex Grinch did not want him to play that position, so that's why he wound up first signing with Texas A&M and then going to Oklahoma State when he asked out of his LOI.
Hey, real quickly before we get to Whit Newbower here, Eric the Red on the text line, I'm old. What does the term cheeks mean? Cheeks means it was a bad performance. Trash. Booty. Ass.
You can connect the dots from there.
Yeah. So, like, if I say somebody was cheeky, that means they were trash. Hope that clears that up, Eric.
So, Grayson, might Oklahoma have the new and improved Davis Bevel coming to town?
Sure looks like it.
Whit Newbower, folks, get familiar with him. 6'6", 225 pounds, which is why I make the Davis Bevel comparison. But he moves better than Davis Bevel does. That's not saying a whole heck of a lot because Davis Bevel was a statue. But he can move well enough. He's got arm talent. He's got starting experience. He comes from FCS Mercer, which is where he spent his true freshman year in 2024. Eventually, I don't really know the story, whether it was due to injury or he just seized the job midseason, but wound up starting 9 games for Mercer. Threw for 1,398 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Led Mercer to a conference title in the Southern Conference and an appearance in the FCS playoffs. This is a guy that was very recently on campus for Oklahoma, Grayson. This is the guy that they would like to have as their third-string quarterback. Again, can he play? The hope is you never have to find out the answer to that question.
Not this year.
Certainly not this year. So you're talking about a third-string quarterback here. The pickings are slim. It's not like you expect to be blown away by whoever Oklahoma gets to be their third-string quarterback behind John Mateer and Michael Hawkins. But how many programs in the SEC can say that their third stringer has starting experience at any level in college football?
No, it'd be a solid ad. It would provide you some depth, at least that can give you something on the practice field too. And look, starting experience, good size, plus arm. He's got a nice arm. He can be a guy that, if catastrophe strikes, can keep your head above water. This would be a solid pickup for Oklahoma if they're able to reel in Newbower.
Glenn from Nashville says, I was about to say he's Davis Bevel with better hair. A listener in the state of Ohio says, Bevel also fumbled Alex Storako. He lost the only impressive accomplishment from his OU tenure.
That did happen.
Woof! What did Davis Bevel get out of his 2 years at the University of Oklahoma, all told?
Hey, I mean, maybe he got some clout for having her in the first place.
I guess. I mean, I'm sure he picked up a few social media followers for that, but
now whether or not he parlayed that into something is something totally different.
Nah. Davis Bevel. I don't think he got an NFL minicamp invite. Workforce for that guy. But the only thing OU fans will ever remember him for at this point is the worst start they've ever seen.
Did he fumble Storako right after that?
I don't know. I don't keep up with the relationships. Somebody that does on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, I'm sure, will let you know the answer. Kyle from Salisaw says his stats sound like JFA's stats from last year minus the turnovers.
I mean, wasn't that the bugaboo with JFA?
Yeah, I mean, absent
By the way,
turnovers.
we're not calling him JFA anymore. He's Jackson Arnold.
No, we still call him JFA.
Okay, fumbling Arnold, yeah, sure.
There
Okay,
you go.
Fair.
There you go. Glad you caught the drift. But yeah, I mean, like, let's be honest here. Absent the turnovers, I don't think Jackson Arnold had a half bad year last season, all things considered. It was because of the turnovers and the sheer amount of them that everybody was so fed up with Jackson Arnold's play.
Now, here's the thing. Now, Newbower did only complete 56.4% of his passes. So do keep that in mind.
Yes. Again, third-string quarterback, folks. You hope he never has to see the field. If he does, that's an issue. But I imagine we'll soon find out whether Whit Newbower is coming to the University of Oklahoma to join the quarterback room that features, as of right now, John Mateer, Michael Hawkins, and Jet New. We hope that you will come back with us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for another installment of Locked In here on the Ref Sports Radio Network. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. We will now turn things over to Teddy Lehman and Tyler McComas, who have you for the next 3 hours coming up next on The Rush. Keep it right here.